Most of you know that I worked for many years as a carpenter. But like a lot of young men, I spent my early working life on tasks that can really only be described as menial. Day after day, returning to the same tools and perhaps a different project, I would press on. If my boss was watching, I would maybe put a little more English on the tool I was using. But in general, I would keep a steady pace, not forcing or pressuring myself to work as though I could prove something with the effort spent. Somehow this tendency seemed to spread into the landscape of my leisure activities also. And I have been for many years completely at ease with beginning a book that many people might mistake for an object of masonry, a brick, or a cement block, both for its size and the density of its material. Sure, such a book will take a long time to read. One can only read one page at a time, no matter what book you choose. But it ensures that the pleasure of reading this book will last for a considerable length of time. It will be a nice, long, satisfying visit. These life patterns have served me in spiritual pursuits as well. The most difficult move in the spiritual life is to begin. And so here we are. And in a few moments, we will all have been marked, sorted at the narrow gate by our shepherd, whose voice we know and follow, and by whom we are known, along with all the saints. What we begin today is largely up to each one of us. And as a good friend, Sister Catherine Grace always used to say, we ain't all the same. Thanks be to God. Lent is a time set aside for cleaning house in the spiritual sense. Perhaps cleaning and organizing a closet might be a better metaphor. For most of us, a closet is something only we see, only we know. Organizing and changing out one's sock drawer might be an even better metaphor for some. And returning to my more menial orientation, I have found pruning to be the most apt object of transference for me. Cutting away dead wood, opening up the plant to light and air, helping the plant regain its original organic, life-giving design. Pruning also has the double secret backup code power of being biblical. Two things from the gospel lesson I want to mention: the treasure in heaven and the curious admonition to not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. The treasures in heaven, like all things that mean something, are contained in interior relations. A short list would be, and these are intentionally some of the most difficult: the faithful endurance of persecution, accepting unearned blame, loving your enemies, praying in secret, serving the Lord and the Lord's people. All these and many more are forged in an unseen interior relation that determines the meaning of the action. We can also say that having ashes imposed is the result of a similar, unseeable, untouchable interior relation carrying the meaning of that sign. So while we are here in the neighborhood of the hidden interior human landscape, let's look at this enigmatic notion of one hand not knowing what the other is doing. Often used in secular speak, it describes a process that is, underhanded, contradictory, misrepresented, or has unintentional outcomes. In our lesson, it means something different. Jesus is trying to uncouple the spontaneous prompting of generosity from too much thought or manipulative intent. What does someone deserve? Who will see or know of our generosity, including oneself? A 5th century church father, John Chrysostom, who is the author of the "When two or three are gathered in his name" prayer that we use in our daily offices, takes this a step further, saying, "This is said as an extreme expression, as much as to say, if it were possible, that you should not know yourself, and that your very hands should be hid from your sight. That is what you should strive for." Here, Chrysostom seeks to protect us from the insidious influence of vainglory, which often keeps intimate quarters with self-knowledge and the illusion of virtuous intent. The commandment against making graven images of God is perhaps based, in part, on the fact that we are not endowed with the understanding to accomplish an accurate, helpful, or complete image. We are also likely to be distracted by idolatrous regard for such an image. Our imaginations are limited. Add to this the further complication that we are imago Dei, made in God's image, and our quarry becomes even darker and deeper. I would like to suggest that Chrysostom was on to something. We probably also lack the capacity to fully know ourselves or our intent, especially as God knows us, being closer to us than our own soul, creating us to be a particular being with particular purpose. St. Augustine, author of what is arguably the first autobiography, his Confessions, is probably also the first to think of the self as a specific thing. He saw the self as a deep wellspring of mystery, a mystery of mystery born. This could be a thought with which to secure a right beginning in Lent, along with, "From dust were ye made, and to dust ye shall return." Amen.